Before we start quickly, I just wanted to say that this machine is for personal use only, meaning myself. Also, don't judge my sketchy building practices. Anyways, enjoy this awesome video, I'm sure you'll love it. The moment I saw this video by Dexkuma, I had to click. The thought of an Osu arcade machine at the time was just mind-boggling. Being a chronic Osu player and loving rhythm games in arcades made me desperately want my own. So I decided over the next few months that my only goal was to make my very own Osu arcade. Now, there's a little bit of work required in building an arcade machine, of course. Now, if I was going to build one like Pepe's prototypes, I would need a touch screen, a computer, some speakers, and maybe even some LED lights. If only there was something laying around that already had 3 of the parts I needed. A laptop with a touchscreen, of course, not this one. This is the laptop that I actually used for this project, and it made me feel slightly less bad tearing it apart because it had a broken hinge anyway. And now, with hardly any plan, I went ahead tearing apart my laptop. So here's the laptop screen and the laptop body separated, as well as the bezel removed, as you can see. And this is after I got the hinges off, so now we just have a screen, but as you can see, it seems a little bit vulnerable, a little bit thin, so what I've done is I've grabbed some acrylic sheet and I'm going to cut some of it out and glue it on the back. And here's our acrylic after I cut it out with a jigsaw. Although as you can see in the corner I did crack it a little bit, but that should be fine after it's glued on. And somehow while gluing the screen to the acrylic I actually got super glue on the screen itself. But luckily with some effort I was able to use some acetone and wipe it off. Here's a quick test after all of that was done. Yeah, so it functioned pretty well so far, although my gameplay could use some improvement. So even though we just sort of started the project, I forgot I had plans to do some travelling. Yay! And even though now I was away from home for like a week, you know I didn't let this opportunity slide. I found a 3-story arcade loaded with rhythm games such as Taiko, Tunitham, Sound Voltex, Mai Mai, Gitadora, and Beatmania. Playing all these rhythm games that I didn't exactly have at home was so awesome. Although, I also came to have a look at the machines and see how the big companies had done theirs. They were all beautifully built, with lots of lights and appealing colours. Maybe something to think about when I get home and continue building my very own Osu arcade. And a few days later, I was back home. Now, it was time to start constructing the actual body of the arcade. I was planning to go for a simple 3-sided housing, so I needed to measure out where to split the wood. Here's a 3D model I made on Fusion 360 to help visualise what the project would look like. And here's the wooden pieces after they were split into 2. Now I just needed to cut out a part of the wood slowly and painfully to make room for the display.
A few moments later.
And indeed, quite a few moments later, I had the display hole cut out. Now it was time to clean it up using a file. After that, I then made some temporary tape bezels, which I will replace for something a bit more proper later on in the video. I then cut out a sketchy looking hole for the speaker, which should look a bit better when covered up. And the last thing that I had to attempt to do was cut out a hole for the power button on the laptop. I then went on to assemble the device with hot glue. I know, very homemade, but if it works, it works. And just like that, I had an assembled arcade. Whilst it was functional now, I still wanted to decorate it and make it look like a finished product. The first thing that I needed to fix was the overall finish of the device. It had showing wood and lots of tape and it wasn't very clean. I was also missing a lack of look at me factor, I guess. Pretty much some colour, which I think I'll do with some LED lights. Anyways, it was pretty easy to fix problem 1 with the help of my friend Blended. A massive thanks to him for helping design and 3D print many parts for this project. I would highly encourage you to support him and check out his channel to make sure you don't miss any cool projects. Anyways, with the help of him, it's now time to make this arcade look a whole lot better. After gluing on the corner pieces, the front looked a little bit better, although the one thing that still annoyed me was the bezel made out of tape, which I removed next and replaced with a 3D printed one. After peeling off the black electrical tape layer, I still had some grey tape underneath that I had to remove, so I cut it carefully with a knife to where it wouldn't stick out of the 3D printed parts before I glued them on. And as you may have seen in the intro, please do not follow my mistakes and let the knife slip down near the screen. I was very lucky that no damage was done. And here's how the arcade was looking with the bezels and all the other 3D printed parts on. Significantly better in my opinion. The last thing that I felt I need to do was cover up the empty sides there on the arcade machine, so I designed some side panels that were 3D printable on Fusion 360. And boom, just like that, the side panels were printed out and they're all ready to be installed. Although I did get something to quickly add before we placed on the side panels, some LED lights. Here's roughly what they look like, and yes, off camera I did move that LED strip there to the top to make it look a little bit cleaner. And pretty much here's how I ended up mounting the side panels. So I cut out these little pieces of metal to rest the side panel on, and then I super glued some Lego Technic pins because they actually worked quite well to hold the side panels in place. And finally, after so much preparation, planning and hard work, we had a finished Osu arcade. Now it's time to see some well-deserved gameplay. just a couple things to say before I end off the video. If you enjoyed watching, please drop a like and a sub. It would really help my channel and support the work so that I can do more projects like this. And also, if you have any questions about the arcade machine, you can either drop a comment below or you can join my Discord server, which will be in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you're still watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys again soon. Later.